Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Secret Sonics. I'm here with Carl, who would normally say hi, Ben, and I would say hi, Carl. But we just found out that Steve Albini passed away at the way too young age of 61. And so we just wanted to say rest in peace and acknowledge that it's a bit of a sad day for the audio community. And although we both didn't know him personally, a lot of people we know knew him. And I think everybody's been inspired by his work. So let's just say rest in peace to Steve Albini and thank you for the records and the work and for definitely moving the needle, quite a bit for the audio community. So I guess that's, a little tribute at the start of this episode. And we'll try not to let that affect our moods and hopefully give you still a good episode of Secret Sonics. But yeah, just put that out in the ether that it's a bit of a sad day for the audio world. So yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Carl, you want to add
So
anything to that, or we're good with that?
I think you're good. I think you nailed it. So then I'll just say, well, hi, Ben.
Hi, Carl.
I hope this episode goes well.
I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, I do too.
I think we'll be okay.
I think we'll be okay because we're both dorks, and I think we're both so excited to be here talking to each other that even the passing of Steve Albini, I think it's going to inspire us to do a good episode, not just bring us down. So let's try to channel the goodness into this episode.
Absolutely. So for today's episode, we wanted to talk about expanding your team and building a team around you to help get the music out in the most effective, positive, best way, amazing way possible. Because not everybody lives in a, vacuum and does everything by themselves, and probably people are better off not doing everything by themselves. So yeah, let's talk about expanding your team. Carl, why don't you tell us a little bit about expanding your team, and maybe what's the first thing that maybe you can even tell the audience what's the first thing you did, or the first person you brought in to build a team around you to help improve the work the songs you're working on.
Okay. So first I'll answer the question directly and say it was bringing in Nicholas DiLorenzo, friend of the show, as a mastering engineer. But I do want to quick pause and say that, we did an episode together a couple months ago, a year ago, maybe, where we talked about like delegation, and that was a bit more of a practical episode. And what I want to try to talk about, at least for myself, I'd like to get more into like the personality and like the emotional side of building a team, not just the logistics of delegating tasks to somebody, but like the actual interpersonal aspects of team building.
Yeah.
And that's and talking about like interpersonal relationships, Nicholas is the man, right? And I think that was his personality is what made me want to bring in an outside mastering engineer. It wasn't even that I was necessarily looking to start outsourcing mastering. It was just he's great. I don't know how else to say it.
How'd you meet Nick?
We met through the Make Pop Music Facebook group, probably back in 2018, maybe. It was a while ago, and we just hit it off right away. And it was the first time that I felt like, oh, I want to trust this person. I think up until that point, I really had that DIY mentality. I don't know if it's self-preservation or what, but I didn't really trust anybody else with it. There were a couple times that I did have outside mastering engineers work on songs, but that was mostly because of the clients wanting that, and I was open to it. I wasn't super. I don't know what the right word would be. I wasn't afraid of having somebody else master. I just wasn't actively seeking that out. But when I met Nicholas and started getting to know him and wanting to see what it was like, not just to have somebody master a song, but have somebody become a more regular part of the team. As soon as I got that taste for that, it really just became an avalanche of, oh, holy crap, like having somebody else on my team that can be objective and has great ideas and is really fun to talk to and is, gives a really great experience to their clients. Like I want to do more of that. I want to have more awesome people because it makes me look good. It makes me feel good. It makes the clients look good. It makes the clients feel good. Like it's just a win 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 all around.
Yeah. I definitely resonate with that. And I think I hesitated to bring a mastering engineer on at the beginning, also with DIY kind of self-preservation thing. And I think also my first mastering experience when I mastered my own record was not great. And I think I was kind of afraid that the mastering engineer will mess up my mixes because of that experience.
Mhm.
And, but once I found working with Connor, who's my mastering engineer, and the communication was so good and it was so fun and it was so great for him to just kind of like, give me some tips and also like reaffirm that I was doing a good job with the mixes. All those things were like super just made me feel great, and it just gave me extra confidence to have that song released and feel good that it's done. And yeah, and I had other people also similarly like master records if the artist had asked for it. And there was something about it when it got really professionally mastered and I wasn't just faux mastering it. There was something else that was just like it was just like better for my, resume. um but like yeah, that interpersonal experience with Connor was definitely what made it so easy for me to bring on mastering as like part of my team. And and yeah, and just like deliver a final product with much more confidence. So
Yeah.
very similar story there with like bringing in a mastering engineer. Now, I know you bring in even more people than I do because you bring in other producers to do different parts of the process. And why don't you tell us people maybe how maybe expanded from mastering for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's been like I said, it was an avalanche. Like I started bringing in new people left and right. I think that was just I honestly don't remember who was next. I know I've always had session players do things. So that's I almost want to say like that's not necessarily the same, or maybe it is.
I
I
don't know.
still
For me,
look for the same
that's
kind of
like the
qualities.
number one thing I bring in other than mastering is as a outside as team players is hiring the right session musician and knowing which session musician is going to bring what to which project. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe that's like a producer role thing, but that's like they become a part of the team for that song.
Yeah. And I
And
think that
like
makes sense that, oh, sorry.
no, no, it's cool. No, go on.
Well, I was going to say that that makes sense that that is a much bigger portion of your team because of the style of music that you're working on, or the styles of music you're working on versus what I'm
Yeah.
doing, which is I'm, primarily pop and pop adjacent style. So a lot more electronic, a lot more electronic music influenced. So when I do have session players in, it's not super often. It's honestly maybe 1 or 2% of the time. Like it's not super common. It might be a little bit more than that, but not much more than that. So, uh, bringing in session players for tracks, the co-producer thing is something that I do all the time, and I am primarily a mixing engineer. Can I produce? Yes. Do I like to produce? Not very often. It really has to be the right fit, not just the right personality, but also like I I have to make sure
Musically.
that musically that I feel like I can really knock it out of the park. And even though I do, you know, uh, express to the world that I am a mixing engineer, I still get asked about doing productions like all the time. So when that happens, very, very, very rarely is it an artist that I feel confident that I could actually do a great job with the production on my own. So what I end up doing is I have a, you know, as a mixing engineer, I know a lot of producers. So what I'll do is when I start to listen to the songs or the ideas that the artist is bringing to me, I'll just kind of go through my mental contact list of who do I know that I think could really destroy this song, like in a good way, um, so that I can kind of bring them into the fold. And essentially, I'm taking on the producer role in a more project manager kind
Yeah.
of way.
I think of it as like
Uh,
executive producer, right?
yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
become more of like an executive producer. So I'm still, in the conversations during pre-pro, I'm still giving feedback as they're working on the production, but more, uh, I'm more big picture with the artists until it gets to mix stage, and then I'm, you know, in the thick of it. And I I don't know, scratches so many itches for me because then I get to still work on a whole bunch of different styles of music and a whole bunch of different projects, but I don't have to fake it. Like if I'm working on like a pop punk song, I can bring in people that like live and breathe that. If I'm doing like a house music track, I can bring in people that live and breathe it. If it's country, I can bring in people that live and breathe it. So it enables me to get not just a better result for the client, but also I get to stretch myself, eh, but not have to stretch myself too far, or
Ho-
stretch myself to the point that it's doing a disservice for the client and for the song.
Yeah. I'm curious, when you do that, how do you pitch that to the artist that that approached you to produce? How do you say, "Oh, we're gonna bring in this person to help, help with the production stage," even though you just asked me to do the production stage? How does that get pitched?
Oh, I mean, I just tell them why. I just say, look, here are my thoughts based on what I'm hearing and what you're talking to me about. Could I do it by myself? Maybe. Like I could try, but knowing that your influences are X, Y, and Z, I think it might make more sense for me to bring in so and so to handle some of like the main production elements of it because that is the style that they live and breathe. Whereas like I'd be kind of faking that part of it. So having somebody else come on to do that instead of me is going to get you a much better end result. It's going to sound a lot more natural and authentic, and also it's just going to be I think a better time because they understand that uh, they speak that language. So the ideas that you have, you're going to be able to like, they're going to understand that a lot better. But then knowing that the things that I'm great at, which is helping with the transitions and ear candy and like the last couple things in the production process that a lot of times the producers or the artists kind of lose objectivity by the time they get to that point. That's when I can come in, help with those things, help to be the extra sounding board, bring in all of my decades of experience and taste into it and like help to guide it, help to make sure that we're all on the same page, making sure everybody knows what's going on, making sure that you're happy and that your vision is always the top priority. But knowing that the person that's actually, in the thick of it playing the guitar parts is someone that is a really great country guitar player, not just me faking it. So the other benefit too is that for a lot of these things, like they're so much faster at it too. So not only are they better at it, but because they're better at it and they do it every day, they're so much faster. So it's going to be cheaper for you to do it that way anyway.
Yeah.
So when I phrase it like in that way, it's like here are all the benefits. These are all the reasons why. It's not just saying I suck. I don't know what I'm doing. It's like oh no, like I could do a good job, but they're going to do a better job if they're handling that part of the process, and I'm still involved to help steer the ship and make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. That's great.
So then when I pitch it to them, um, like my like kind of like proposal deck that I have, like I'll mention all the people that are going to be on it. I'll tell them why. I'll say, oh, I'm going to bring in Lucas Gino to do the production and like the vocal tracking with you, and then uh Ethan Horning is going to be doing the vocal editing, but he's going to be working directly with Lucas to make sure that everything is, coming out the way that it was envisioned in the production process. And then all throughout that process, I'm going to be, getting demo versions back and forth from even Lucas and giving my 2 cents. And then when we get to the point that we're ready for mixing, I'll coordinate with him to make sure I have everything that I need. If there's anything that I notice that needs to be tweaked and fixed, I'll just shoot him a text because we're good buds, and I'll make sure that I communicate all the tweaks that we need to make. Then when the mix is done and we're ready for mastering, we're going to bring in Nicholas DiLorenzo because he is not only just like a giant teddy bear, but also he's a badass mastering engineer, and he can help to just give that extra objective, quality assurance at the end, just to make sure that he catches any of the things that I might have missed because I'm human. And I don't itemize the prices. I don't say, oh, well, to have Lucas involved, it's X amount. And then to have Ethan involved, it's X amount. I just say, this is the team. This is the vision. This is like the experience that you're going to be going through along the way, and like kind of like who we're going to be working with along the way. And for all of that, here's the price. And I think that's what enables me. That's what enables me to do that, because I'm not allowing them to decide what part should cost what. They hear about the experience, they hear about the care and the attention and the love that they and their songs are going to receive,
Yeah.
and then they can judge, based on that, if the price makes sense. And usually they find a way to make that price happen.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great. On a mix, when you're just mixing a song, what does the extended team usually look like? Is it usually just mastering? Sometimes I know sometimes it's not even mastering.
Yeah.
What else
Um,
might you bring in?
Most of the time, it's my assistant Ethan would do like the mix prep. So he's getting all the files from the client, putting them into my template, making sure that everything is, organized, color coded, labeled right, and also flagging any issues like blank audio tracks, or sometimes if somebody sends a file and they unintentionally didn't solo the part, and like, oh, the snare track has the entire mix in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. He'll flag that for me. Um, and then before I had Bounce Butler to handle all of the stem printing, I used to hire my now business partner slash good friend slash former like first assistant Julian. Um, I had him literally like log on to Zoom with me, and I would just give him remote control of Zoom, like at night, because I had young kid, and he was in his like late 20s, and just living the life. So he would just like watch Netflix and then
Export.
and then like export files like through Zoom, like remote control. So it was it was
Oh my God.
it,
Like
it was
Team
it,
Viewer
it
or
was fun.
something.
Basically, yeah. Like I would just share my screen, give him remote control, and then I would go to bed or go do dinner or whatever it was. So now that Bounce Butler has replaced that particular part of it, it's still at least usually Ethan and myself, and I'd say like it's not all the time, but quite a bit, getting Nicholas involved too. Which
Amazing.
I think even that, when COVID first hit, especially, and Julian was doing all of the preps, and was working with Nicholas a lot. That was a really interesting selling point too, because I would say, oh yeah, I'm even on just a mix. The team is in 3 countries,
Mm.
because Julian's in Montreal, I'm in the States, and Nicholas is in uh, Melbourne,
Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
So then what I would do these production what I would
But
do
everybody
the
speaks English, thankfully.
everybody
So
speaks English, yeah, yeah. But when I would do like when I send out the proposals for like full productions, a lot of times the co-producers I'd bring on are from England. So I would end up saying like, oh yeah, and just all throughout this, like, your song's going to be going to, 4 different countries on 3 different continents
yeah,
before we're
that's
all done.
amazing. Yeah.
So
Real
there,
international selling point.
yeah, yeah. So, and there were, especially in, 2020, 2021, that was a very novel concept for a lot of artists. So that became like, if nothing else, was a really interesting differentiator, because
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I've assembled a team of badasses, and they're from all over the world. And like, I brought them in because of who they are and what they contribute to the team, not just because they're the person that happens to live down the street from me and applied for an internship.
Yeah, I love that. Um, so I'm jumping in my mind to like hiring session musicians or whatever because that's just kind of
Yeah.
more of what I do because I don't actually have I don't have a mix assistant. I kind of do all that stuff by myself. I have a mastering engineer, and I do hire out sometimes also for tuning vocals, depending on time frame, budget, and how things are. I try to if I can I'll hire out for tuning. I've used Lucas; he's great. Um, and so like yeah, it was just the international thing is what made me think about it because I've hired like drummers and musicians and like all over the world, and it's pretty amazing. And I'm working with one artist here in Israel, and just like over the course of 2 songs, we hired 2 different drummers. One was in England, I think you know him, Joe Montague,
Yeah.
and another one was here in Israel, and it was just a drummer that I played with Alex Clare, who I just felt was the right drummer for that song, and they just totally brought totally different vibes to the tracks, but they were completely different tracks and needed totally different things. And they both turned out great and in such different ways. So like yeah, like the artist was like, "Oh, we could hire Joe again for this other song." And I was like, "I love Joe, but he's not the right drummer for this song." You know? And
Yeah.
like but Joe was so the right drummer for the other song, you know? So it's just like it's just great to like have a feel for who does what and just like know what like Joe is so good at that Beatles kind of like upbeat sort of thing. It was just like it was epic. And for this other song where I wanted something to sound like a little, I don't know, wanted not the Ringo thing, like something more like classic, like I don't know, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe like natural but expensive sounding, like open sort of thing. This other drummer was like the perfect choice for for that song. Yeah, like just knowing which goes where is like a big part of what it is, and like and then telling that to the artist like this is why I think we should hire this particular musician, or like sometimes it's a string arranger or um all kinds of things. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
hired a slide what's it called, the pedal steel, you know, I should do that more often, pedal steel. But I hired a pedal steel player somewhere in America, which was great. As so just like knowing what to do and how to do it is just like such a big part of me bringing more people into the fold to make the song like the best possible version of itself. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I well, I mean,
And it could be
what's
from anywhere, right? It could be from all over the
yeah.
world, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
and something that I think surprises people when I tell them that I do this, like, I hire other drummers for sessions. Like, I was a full-time session drummer for a long time. Like, that was my that was how I, paid the rent. That's how I put, like, a, down payment on a house. And what's crazy is that one of my favorite things to do is hire other drummers, and it's
That's
for the
so
exact
cool.
reason that you're saying. Like when it's something that is, if it's like big rock, like I know I need to hit the cymbals really, really hard, but also get like a lot of tone and character out of it. And I have some weird ideas for how I want to actually process it. I'm going to be the one playing the drums. I'm going to hire other engineers to do it because I don't want to be engineering it myself. So I'll even like have other engineers, other producers help me with that in that sense. But there'll be times when I'll hire somebody like Tomas Shannon, uh, who I love and has this really great like the kind of like the Wolfpack kind of really super dry
Mhm.
thing that like when I need that kind of vibe, like call him in a heartbeat because that's something that I know I can't do very well. I could maybe do it if I really tried, but it's going to be a lot of work and experimentation that I just realistically don't have time for. And I know he's going to nail it.
Yeah.
So that's, even as a drummer myself, I still outsource drumming to different
Yeah.
people depending on what it is. And having that international network of players that I know can bring really great ideas and tones and
Yeah.
perspectives to the track, like that's huge. And I think that getting over the ego part is probably the hardest and most important thing to do when you're trying to start building that team. It's getting over the fact that you're not going to be the best at everything.
You
There are going to
can't.
be parts of the process that you're going to be the best at, And like I don't think I'd really trust anybody else to mix. I'm not saying I'm the best mix engineer, but I know like that's probably where I'm the
When
strongest.
yeah, when you're involved in the project, that's what you wanna do.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but there are a lot of things that I'm not the best at, and I want to be the first person to admit that, and also the first person to surround myself with people that are really good at that thing, so that way I can just have a better person on the team.
Yeah, and there are instruments that I play that I will delegate for, and I don't always delegate for. So, like, if it's a guitar track that I can pull off, then I'll probably just do it myself because it'll be cheaper for me and the artist, and we'll just get it done right away. But if it's something that I can't do on the guitar, then we're gonna hire somebody, and we're gonna hire the right person because I know a few people that do guitar really well and have different strengths.
Yeah,
And same with keyboards. Like I can play a lot of keyboard parts, but I don't necessarily I'm not like the best piano keyboard player, and so depending on what the part is, we may hire a real like someone that's their specialty. Um,
yeah.
and so it just kind of all depends on the song and like who I think will deliver the best for the song. There hasn't been bass parts that I've had other people come in for, but it would probably like I don't really work on genres where my bass playing doesn't make sense, but there definitely are genres that if I was working on, we'd have to like I'm not gonna play upright bass on your song, and I'm not gonna if you're going for something that's like jocko-y or like fancy, it probably not gonna be me. But most stuff I work on is more fundamental, like holding it down sort of bass playing. So
And
usually
also, I
works.
feel like
Yeah.
those kind of artists are probably not gonna be reaching out to you for that anyway, because that's not really what you're trying to put out into the world as your thing.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Although I wouldn't mind, recording an artist like Corey Wong or something. But yeah, totally. Yeah. I wouldn't mind working on that
Yeah,
stuff as like a mixer or engineer.
yeah.
But yeah. But as a producer, yeah, totally.
So, kind of I know we're getting close to the end of the episode, but I wanted to say, like, do you have any last minute little nuggets of wisdom that you wanna share about maybe what it feels like on the other side of letting go? Like, once you've let go of having to be the one and only person on a project,
Oh
like, can
yeah.
you describe
Yeah.
describe the feeling from the other side?
Just joy. It's that human connection thing. It's the joy of working with other people and bringing, you know, the synergy of having more people involved and making it that much better. Um, for me, it's always a joy to work with more people. The more people are brought onto a project, usually the better. Usually peaks at like 5 or 6, I would say, on on like the typical song I'm working on. So like it would have been just me and the artist, right? Maybe 7 years ago, and today it's me, the artist, definitely a mastering engineer, and then probably also a tuner, and then maybe a session musician or 2. So like and then the more people that come in and bring their stuff and do their genius and bring it to the song, the better. And then, like you said, you could focus on the thing that you bring best to the table, which is mixing. So for me, it would be mixing and maybe the producing and maybe some of the parts, but not all the parts. And yeah, like it's just so joyful to have other people involved and to see the artist also be so happy that their song came out so much better because we brought in the right drummer for that song, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, it's just great. I just think you have to open your mind to working with more people and letting them bring their thing to the project. Because if you're judicious about it and you know who's going to do the right thing, then it will. And that you just have to experiment, I guess, and or just have like a repertoire of things that person did in your head, sort of like how what records sound like that you love and whatever. So you know which musicians are going to play the way you love for this sort of a thing. If I'm making any sense. But yeah, it's
Yeah, you
great.
are, you
It's
are,
it's
yeah.
amazing. It's a joy.
Yeah.
It's a joy to bring people
It
onto the team.
it is, and I would say I wanna leave the listeners with this. If you're considering trying to find somebody else for your team, but you just feel like you don't know where to start or you don't know anybody, honestly, just ask us. Because I feel like between Ben and I, we know so many I mean, realistically, like, we know so many people, that do all sorts of different things, and I know for myself personally, I love being the connector of just like, "Oh, you need a sax solo for, like, a synthwave track? Cool. call my buddy Corey. You know what I mean? Like I love just being the one to help to make those kind of connections, and I do it all the time. So I would say if your only hesitation in building out your team is just not knowing anybody yet, I don't want to speak for Ben, but at least for myself, just yeah, send me a DM and tell me what you're needing, and if I know somebody, I'm more than happy to make an introduction.
Oh yeah, same. I love that. That's a great call to action to
Yeah,
let's bring some of our teammates into the fold of our listeners, you know?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
I love
So
it.
yes, send us some messages because we want to help because it is
Yeah.
joyful, like exactly what Ben said. It is joyful and it is fun. It is rewarding, and we learn so much from the people that we're surrounded by, and we meet so many more people. We see so many new perspectives. Like there's only positives.
Yeah. It's like music brings people joy and then like human interaction brings people joy. So like the combination of that is just the best.
Music production is a social sport, and we just treat it as one.
That's a great quote. I'm gonna think
We
about that.
shouldn't.
And
Yeah, we
we're
should.
gonna make a T-shirt.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a coffee mug.
This is like our first swag.
Yeah, it's the nerdiest swag ever. But yeah,
All right, Carl, this is great. Thanks for doing this episode with me. This was a fun chat.
thanks for not kicking me off as your co-host last episode for me not watching Austin Powers because I still haven't watched it yet. Because
Yeah,
spoiler alert, we recorded this episode not not much longer after the previous one. I did not have enough time to watch an entire feature length
trilogy.
film
Yeah.
trilogy. Yeah, but yeah, you're awesome. Thanks for talking to me. You're great, and bye, Ben.
Bye, Carl.